Good morning and welcome to Antarctica. My name is Luciano Bernacchi and I'm the expedition leader on board Seaborne Pursuit on her first ever voyage to Antarctica. We started in Rio, Brazil. We worked our way down to Uruguay, the Falkland Islands with amazing wildlife viewing. And we're spending fantastic and unforgettable days here in Antarctica. We've been blessed by the weather, the wildlife, the ice and the scenery. Looking forward for the next couple of days and sharing these adventures with you. Thank you for sailing with us.
Today we enjoy the sun and its warmth as we head into Montevideo, a vibrant city with European charm, cultural diversity and historical richness. Exploring its architecture, museums, festivals and local cuisine. Beautiful city full of green spaces and stunning squares where trees and flowers adorn every street.
At the moment the ship is still experiencing intense motion. That is due to the combined effect of strong wind and a long swell. Since our departure from Montevideo, Uruguay, we have sailed a total distance of 712 nautical miles. We have a remaining distance of 330 nautical miles to sail before our arrival at our anchorage position at Stanley, Falkland Islands. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you a lovely afternoon at sea on board the Seaborne Pursuit. Your home away from home.
The wind sails the open sea, steered by the albatross. that glides, falls, dances, climbs, hangs motionless in the fading light, touches the waves' towers, settles down in the disorderly elements seething water, while the salt crowns it with laurels and the furious foam hisses, skims the waves with its great symphonic wings, leaving above the tempest a book that flies on forever, the statute of the wind.
It is bigger than what a lot of people realise. They say the Falklands is about the same size as Wales. Port Stanley, the capital, has the majority of the population, upwards of about 2,000 people or so.
So it's a tight-knit community. Everybody helps each other out. We've managed to get television, which perhaps means that the parties aren't quite as good as they used to be, but thank you to Queen Elizabeth II. We're a city with a cathedral. It's absolutely tiny. People are always astounded at how small it is, but it's much bigger than it was a few years ago before the Argentine invasion.
It consists of about 500 islands or so, lots of little ones, but you've got two main ones, East and West Falklands. Outside of Stanley is known as Camp. All the little settlements, they're quite spread out, they deal mostly in farming.
We are essentially a penguin tour. We have kings, breeding king penguins. It's probably the most accessible breeding king penguin colony in the world.
Kings, we think there are about 60 at the moment. They were wiped out at one time. They were killed for their oil. Here, they only started coming back about 20 odd years ago. This is the early part of the season. They seem to be congregating and they will start pairing up. Some of them will breed probably in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So you'll have chicks in about 2 to 3 months. Once they start the breeding cycle, the male may be looking after the eggs and the female will go off to get food. And she will come back and then they switch over. Gentoos have always been around for as long as anybody got any sort of record. There's about 1,000 of them here on Bluff Cove Lagoon.
I've always liked remote places with few people, with a close affinity to the natural world. And the Falklands is this. This adventure into tourism is a new departure for us. So it brings us a bit of breadth that perhaps you wouldn't expect on a remote sheep farm miles from anywhere.
After our first exploration in Stanley, we transitioned to the southwest part of the Falklands archipelago, and here we are at New Island. This island is one of the good examples on the Falklands of local people coming into conservation.
Good morning and welcome to South.
Try to bring it back to the levels of wildlife there was in the past. We are in New Island, the Falklands, and it is an impressive sight. Once we were looking at this natural amphitheater, completely mesmerized watching all these birds. Feisty little southern rockhopper penguins. There are brown skuas patrolling the areas. We actually witnessed how some of these skuas managed to steal some of the eggs of the rockhopper penguins. We have many cormorants flying back to this area. Interesting that these birds take advantage of the tussock grass here. We start hearing this whoosh, whoosh, and see these cormorants flying above our heads, carrying nesting material, seaweed, but also tussock grass. Really unique to have the chance to be so close to these impressive albatrosses. But you really get a good grasp of the size. You can see male and female coming back after a long time in the ocean and reunite and making the vocalizations. Really amazing to have the chance not only to come and visit this place, but to support these initiatives. I don't think we could have asked for a much better day with the light and the temperature. Just wonderful.
This morning we've crossed the island of West Point to reach its distant side. We're here perched on the cliffs overlooking the ocean in blustery and moody conditions, typical of this time of year in the Falklands. We find a colony of rockhopper penguins and albatross nesting in amongst the rocks. All the way down to the shore, they form a black and white speckle among the otherwise dull browns and greens of the tussock grass and the stones and boulders from which this island is made. The albatross here can be viewed so closely that we can appreciate the magnificent size of their head, the wingspan stretching to 6 feet, which also necessitates the strong breeze and to enable them to get aloft. Without it, they would be marooned here forever. As we look down towards the ocean, we realize the long stretch that these penguins must navigate in order to reach the ocean and feed, and then return to bring that food to their chicks, who are soon to hatch. This is an extraordinary display of Mother Nature adapted to extremely harsh conditions, and we're fortunate to see it.
After some beautiful days cruising, we entered Drake Passage. This is where Pursuit really shines. A vessel designed for operating in these waters, and somewhat to the disappointment of some of our guests who expected a wild, tumultuous ride. Instead, we were treated to a very nice version of the Drake Lake, allowing us to easily cross into Antarctica, continuing on our journey. And finally, it came down to this. A wild, tumultuous sea that was constantly battling against the progress of our ship. The mighty Pursuit continued its voyage across the Drake Passage, allowing us to enter into the splendor that is Antarctica.
We finally made it to Deception Island, so named by Nathaniel Palmer because he was deceived. Aren't we so lucky? What a day. Beautiful sunshine, it is dead calm, just magic conditions. And we slowly made our way through the narrow entrance and into the caldera. All this whaling paraphernalia, one of the first areas for whaling. There are boilers, there are coal bunkers, and those big tanks were oil tanks to store the oil for the base. And you've got the steam rising off the beach, and that's not because of the warmth of the sun, but because of the volcanic action underneath. Can it get any better than this? Just can't wait for more days in this area.
This will be our first opportunity to explore below with the 2 submarines that we have on board. Gives our guests an incredible opportunity to explore below the surface. One of the last truly unexplored frontiers.
There's 3 underneath your seat pan, 3 underneath your seat pan. Once we're at the surface, you can use the normal radio. Are we good? Excellent. All right, so first...
Deception Island is known to have some rich benthic life.
That light starts veering. How amazing is it, eh? You can see how fast we're going.
It'll be a very nutrient-rich area. We're hoping to see sea stars, brittle stars, various species of sponges. Get relatively dark as we get down towards the bottom, so we'll use the lights that we have on board to brighten up our environment and absorb the wonders below the surface. Our submersibles are an incredible piece of technology that allow us to explore up to 300 metres below the surface. And our guests are able to have a 360-degree view, allowing them to look out of each end of the dome as we explore below the surface.
Welcome to the Antarctic Peninsula, the last frontier, the great white continent where ice reigns supreme. Here, ice assumes a myriad of forms, a canvas for the sun to paint blues and whites, a duality of beauty and danger. Massive cracks, crevasses, and towering peaks makes the ice landscape dynamic and ever-changing, holding a secret history of Earth's climate spanning hundreds of thousands of years. Antarctica, a land of extremes, windiest, driest, coldest, yet a place where mind-enriching and heart-expanding landscapes, along with majestic icebergs, redefine the boundaries of natural grandeur.
Man has long been driven by dreams of adventure, challenge and greed. It is impossible to imagine the horrors and the terror suffered by those explorers who came before, as our kayaks glide on the reflections of the majestic mountains and shimmering ice, the crown jewels of the southern oceans. There is beauty in the balance, mirror images, the yin and yang of nature, pristine, magnificent, and deadly. This ethereal world envelops us, surrounds us, and overwhelms our senses. Surprise and delight, pure enjoyment. This is kayaking.
While cruising around Antarctica, it's very easy to forget that we are in a truly marine environment. Although we're seeing everything above water, this whole environment is made possible due to huge plankton blooms that happen beneath the surface. Now that the days are getting longer and longer and moving into that 24 hours of sunlight, the plankton will bloom in enormous quantities, bringing a huge amount of primary production to the region, attracting the krill, which will attract the larger predators like our whales, seals, penguins, making Antarctica a truly amazing place to visit.
We were out here at 6 a.m. It's a beautiful start to the day. This morning we came ashore to take a look at the Gentoo penguin colonies. So plentiful in this area. Beautiful region with these high-profile mountains. There is some rocky, exposed beachline here, and that's what brings the Gentoo penguins in. The Gentoo penguins come in here looking for rocky areas to nest in. They'll come ashore in around about October, lay an egg that they incubate for about 30 days, and then the chicks will hatch. But rocky areas allow them to get the egg up above the substrate, which is much healthier for the egg and ensures that it stays nice and clean. What we're standing beside is a really nice penguin highway, which is a route that penguins will take between different areas they're using as they look for their favorite spot on the beach. Much more efficient to walk in the footsteps of your buddies. They've been coming to these same areas for years and years. Chicks will come back to the same shoreline and the same beachline to nest themselves when they reach maturity at about 5 years old. Exploring this in first light was a spectacular way to start the day.
First off, we had to navigate through a lot of brash ice to get to the landing site. Good afternoon, everyone. We're at Nico Harbour. It's the most beautiful day ever. We're watching a lot of penguin action, Gentoo action, a lot of glacial action as well. There's some carving going on. We set up a really challenging hike uphill all the way up to the top. We've got several stations overlooking the rookeries and the beautiful bay that we're in. The penguins that are here at the moment, they are just waiting for the ice to melt so that they can collect their pebbles and build their nest. And some of them are actually also practicing fornicating. So here we've got a glacier cascading down this beautiful mountain edge. It's a tidewater glacier and it's been calving. And you can see that there's some beautifully deep crevasses and seracs towards the end, and those will just peel off and fall down into the water.
Peterman Island An absolutely stunning island with a beautiful backdrop of mountains and glaciers, really, really giving us the Antarctic feel, especially at this time of year. And it was a wonderful place to find our 5th species of penguins, which is the Adelie penguin, which I consider the quintessential Antarctic penguin, which looks like it's wearing its little black and white dinner suit. They are the smallest of the brush-tailed penguins, or Pygoscelis genus, and also the most southerly distributed. Because they are a southern living penguin, they have adaptations to live in the cold, which some others don't have, such as their feathers on their beak. They are also the only penguin that was named after a specific person. Jules de Mont d'Urville, an Antarctic explorer, discovered Adelies in 1840 and was so taken by their beauty that he named them after his wife, Adele. However, they do have some very raucous vocalizations, and their little crest on their head goes up when they're agitated.
F11. F11.
The majestic, imposing mountainscapes of Plano. Transient ice sculptures, beautiful, almost eerie. Perfect place to search out textures, patterns, and photographic opportunities. The iconic Lemaire Channel. Though freezing outside on deck, the guests compelled to go out. The majesty of the mountains cascading down at either side of the ship. Both beautiful from a photographer's point of view, but also from a marvel point of view.
It's a little bit chilly this morning, and for the first time in our voyage, it's snowing. It's reminding us that this is a region of extremes, of cold, yet the wildlife is so adapted to it, it's so at ease. The main feature of this Zodiac cruise today is the chinstrap penguins, one of the 3 species of brush-tailed penguins. Today we were lucky to observe them from up close, going about their lives, getting in and out of the water. In this region there are two large glaciers, so we always find icebergs with their beautiful colors, textures. There's no two icebergs that are the same, so I call them the art of nature.
We finish our expedition where the exploration and exploitation of Antarctica began. The whalers, the sealers, and the explorers. Shielded by the South Shetlands, balustraded by the Bransfield Strait, Antarctic Sound led to the Weddell Sea. Easy access to the mainland, abundant in wildlife and full of surprises, fossils, emperors, tabular icebergs. Our ship is strong, breaks through the ice with Toledo steel. Theirs were wooden vessels, easily crushed by the ice. Shipwrecked twice, forced to survive 2 Antarctic winters on seal steak and penguin pie. This amphitheatre is where we conclude our Antarctic adventure. Full of memories, experiences and adventures, the Drake awaits.
Our last expedition landing in Antarctica, Brown Bluff, an absolute highlight of this expedition voyage. With snowy and calm conditions, as always, Brown Bluff was majestically impressive with its amazing geology. Being in Antarctica for so many times, some of us agreed that this is one of the most successful voyages we had down in the Great White Continent. I trust that Antarctica belongs to your heart now.
During Pursuit's first trip to Antarctica, we were able to achieve many things. Spend a whole week exploring the White Continent, many landings, enjoying truly amazing wildlife, sceneries, walks, glaciers, icebergs and mountains. And we were surrounded by thousands of Adelie penguins and gentoos. We're looking at them coming and going from their foraging trips, reminded us that we were soon going to cross the Drake back to civilization, but I'm sure we will all remember this unforgettable week.
Give me the Weddle song again.
No.
Come on.
What was it?
Hey, Mr. Weddle, Weddle.
Hey, Mr. Weddle. No.